opinions and views expressed by individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of this network, their group, or other organization they may be involved with.
Well, hey, y'all, you showed up. Oh, man, I didn't know if you guys were going to show up today. I mean, the weather and all. I mean, it's absolutely perfect out here. I mean, when I say it's perfect, I don't mean just side of perfect. I mean, it's absolute perfect. Today's a little different, friends, because, as I sit here and I think about all this with y'all, I think, man, it's a really good thing that we have this here, the power of the internet. It's things that we get to do. Sometimes we even get to make chances that happen for ourselves. Maybe sometimes we make things happen the way we want them to happen. Yeah, I digress. Today we're going to take a different approach at things because, as y'all know, I was there being voted for being a best cannabis storyteller. And I decided I'd come up here and explain to y'all why I am this storyteller that y'all are going to vote for. But first, thought we'd get the important stuff out of the way. I can take care of some commercial shit first. Hey guys, remember who loves you and have some fun.
Discover the treasure trove of flavors at Miss Jolly's Munchie Factory. Satisfy your cravings with our award-winning treats. Follow us on Instagram at Captain Rogers 705. Let Miss Jolly's Munchie Factory lift your spirits. Experience the comforting embrace of our freshly prepared soups and infused cornbread.
Are you frantically ponding away on your keyboard these days? To discuss your views, share your passions, teach a skill, or share a craft to the masses on social media. Podcasting is a bright light that can help you reach a diverse audience. And the NOK Network can help. Even if you have no experience, NOK Network will work with you to develop your content to air on our diverse network to reach a wide audience, allowing us to grow together. Podcasts are aired on multiple platforms simultaneously, across social media and streaming sites live through our network. Contact us and let's chat about how we can help you develop your podcast and join the NOK team.
Hey, hi, my name is John Mark, aka Sublimator Warrior, and I would like to welcome you to Smoke Signal in Time Dinaga.
One dab make your whole dome drip sweat.
One dab, make the homies all dipset. One dab, only really need one dab. One dab.
Smoke Signal is a medical dispensary where you can get all your products and needs.
Start vaping a whole bunch. Might just start laying off the blunts. God. Ooey, ooey, gooey, that's a sticky dab. Sticky dab. Might just have to put this one on Instagram. Go and hold it in, feel it in your ribs.
So come and check us out in Tyndanega. 55 Highway 49 in Tyndanega. It's on the res, and we're open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week.
Tune in daily to NOK Network's diverse podcasting lineup. Ganja News Update, Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern with Tara Simpson and Ron McNabb. Waking Up with the Wayniac, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific with Tombstoner Wayne Cruz from Tombstone, Arizona. Grow 420, Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern with Ron McNabb. Psychedelic Reporters, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern with Hobbies Puppets and Tara Simpson. Peace, News and Views, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern with Sir Stevo and Kim Cooper. Thursdays we have Open Your Eye with Kim Cooper and Tara Simpson, 8 p.m. Eastern. Followed by Thursday Night Vibes at 9:15 p.m. Eastern with Master and Mama Rochi. The IWK 710 Daily Sesh airs 7 nights a week with our rotating joint hosts, nightly at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for tuning in to all the podcasting on NOK Network.
Woohoo!
Now we get back to the show.
Summer was it was the spring of 18 of no. It was the spring of 17. There were some fellers there that made their way out. There's a man back here that's buried in that monument right there, Mr. Shefflin. He made it all happen. But what you were hearing today has anything to do with history. What you were hearing today is a fable, or maybe a story, told by cowboys and cowgirls and roughnecks alike. Sometimes when you hear a story, we kind of imply that we knew the person or maybe witnessed the action. Well, in this story that I'm about to tell y'all, it's true. I was there. It was the spring. I think it was the spring of 27. And I went to this town that's just south of Truckee, down there at this little place that is known as the other side of the tracks, or maybe we call it Colfax, California for this story. I went there on the dubious notion of knowing that, as a cowboy, as an outlaw, and as a man of good faith, that, like himself, I would find myself some good resonating factions that would happen there, and find the Lord, of course. Well, I found me some good Mormon folk, and man, they could really talk, and I really like it. But I decided that this was not going to be an action of religion, nor politics, because at this time, Mr. Custer was about to make his last stand, and, well, that was a shitty situation. Irrelevant. But here we go, back to my story at hand. I think it was the fall. It could have been the fall of 27. It doesn't really matter. Well, what most people come out to the southwest or the west for was plain and simple. Powers of this here thing called gold. Most boys who like this here thing know that this here device is gold. That's one way to get your things done. Now, morally, we know that gold can be a very, endeavor of blood and a pioneering sport. I mean, some people know that as a pioneering sport, possibly the most dangerous and most dubious of them all. As most would say, cowboy or a cowgirl or a roughneck of their notion is to always stay clean. Now, how do you stay clean out on the prairie, you ask? What you're looking at right here is the 1827 one and only man. Starlight Concrete, or actually made right here out of original Kobe chain. This here is one of the only 2-speed, 2-cycle, get your laundry done. Hot, spun, bring out and done, bring it up on the line, and just like that, you're clean. Hell no, you shouldn't catch hands like that. I'd break up with sweat and start getting swamp ass. And then suddenly you're wondering, what happened? And then I got to give my lock. I digress. Y'all should come out and just see the way the picture done here in the coach. So good. And it was sad that Big Nose Kate herself, yes, that fine Romanian lady with the big mouth, she hung out here. Could you imagine what she's doing her laundry? I found on the good note that she was, get out of here with your And once again, I digress. Remember, there's a fine line between Saturday night and Sunday morning. Good day, y'all. God bless and pass the ammo. Y'all came back. That's pretty cool. How do you do your laundry? Well, I do mine similar, but we'll go back and forth on that one. Keep your dirty laundry to yourself. Back to my story. I digress. But before I carry on with my story, got to break into this one with here's some ideas of using the magic juice that we use as motivation and the being of the earth. That there is a coffee, my friends. Good afternoon and welcome back. You're back to my story. Oh, where was I? Have you ever played the game of Drop the Box before? Well, we were dropping the box in a great tournament there in California. There were about 19 players showed up from all over the nation. There was a few from there up north in Northern California, as we call it, Canada. And then there was a few there from southern down below that we called Mexico. With those hombres, you just got to know, you got to speak a little clearer with them, and you need to use all intent. Well, back to my story. Sorry about that. No. Yeah. I was playing there, Drop the Box, and after winning about 4 consecutive games in a row, I was feeling quite fancy and quite, how do you say, irreverent. We were having a little bit of a marijuana, and we were having a little bit of conversation while we was playing. I was cleaning up the table from my winnings because, well, it was feeling really nice being a winner because, after all, most of us think we're winners, but a lot of you, truthfully, a lot of you is just losers that you just don't know it because no one's really, get out of here. No, the losers ain't allowed to hang out. Now, that being said, I decided I'd get myself a drink because, oh, I nearly forgot. We spend our time at the Rusty Armadillo. The Rusty Armadillo is this little cantina that pops up here, there, everywhere, and a little bit in between. We popped up at Wasteland Weekends. We popped up at Neotropolis. We popped up at the War of the West. We showed up at the SCA War. We even showed up at Wide Earth Weekends. All right, I digress again. Back to my coffee. Spectacular. All right. With this being said, I will go over here and see if you guys... Oh! Take a look. We got there some comments coming in here on this here device. Oh my God. Well, thank you for the happy birthday wishes. I will make sure to pass that on there for those happiest of birthday wishes. Well, thank you, John. I do appreciate that for my birthday. Okay, back to the story at hand, because y'all got me sidetracked because you guys are all making me feel all fancy and making me feel like redonkulous and all, because there's a part in time when a man must stand back and realize that most actions that... Sorry, I digressed again. I decided to get me a drink. The Armadillo is this cantina. It's made up of canvas, and it's made up of a whole bunch of blankets and a bunch of barrels, tables. We play sport game there. It's also where the beautiful ladies of the night even hang out there. Yes, indeed. Yes. You know, even sometimes you must ask yourself, what have I done to get into this here predicament? Most of you don't know. Most of you need to understand that this predicament is a thing of... Geez, I forgot. I digressed again.
Well, friends, long on their travel, I've met me a fine dandy amounts of peoples. And those are just some of those things I might share. Life as an outlaw can be rather dangerous. So remember, keep good company, good friends, a good safe place to hide your hat. We call that place the Rusty Armadillo.
Oh, y'all came back from the armadillo. Get a drink? You try the pickle back on everything? We like the pickled armadillo, actually, because we use pickle on the back of everything. But, for the same of the story, we like to change some of the names and the places because people can be affected by the notions and the ideas of things that I might be declaring. When you're out having fun with the ladies of the... Forgive me. I decided to walk across the tracks over to the side of Colfax that they call the clean side or the good side. Well, I was over there on the good side. I decided I was going to get me some of that there George Dickel. I love that Dickel. It sounds, get your mind out of the gutter. That don't come for another 50 years, you bunch of weirdos, but irrelevant. George Dickel is some high-grain whiskey that only real outlaws and cowboys drink it, evidently, and it gives you the worst diarrhea. All right. Back to my story at hand. So I walked up to the bar and said, give me a pickleback and one armadillo shot, and I want the death ray of moon. And they looked at me and said, woo, he's ready for it. So I did. Eat me a part of the death ray, drank me a part of the moons, and then I sluggered me down the Dickel. It was at that point, and I realized I was in a whole different world of hurt. And that's when I met him. I met the elusive Squirrely Bill with the ill-fitting monocle. My good friend Squirrely Bill served in our beautiful country during a certain time when, well, maybe she needed a little more heroes than idiots. And at that time, he worked very hard to make sure that the notions of God, the Republic, and all good things that would be holding us true would be left indefinite in the parts of, how do we say, irreverence. Now, with that being said, he's quite wild individual. Sounds about 5'7", I'm imagining. So he's kind of got a little belly to him, kind of like one of those there weightlifters. You know what I mean? Like he's got a stocky build to him. He's got this beard like Gandalf. I shit you not. This beard is the most magnificent, huge beard I've possibly seen in my whole life. Shit, and I've done 53 years around that moon. Back to my story. Sorry. He's also a very educated fella because he did some Oxford schooling and he actually knows word and pontification, which more like a spice of life, or which would be called poetry. No, it don't matter. Whether you're from the South, you're from the West, or even the Southwest, sometimes you got to understand. Poetry is just another line of defense.
Official 1800s bucking board, big wheel, 4x4 trailer. And you too can have the wildest ride. Check it out, Bluetooth, an official metal wheel. And you can pull on 2 horses, 3 horses, 4 horses. Here's an antique bucking board. This here would be your Ford truck in your, how would you say, your 4-wheel drive for all of us farm folks. Take a look.
I do hope you're all having a delightful Tuesday. Sorry about that there. I hit the cameraman. I'll take that out of your check. Now, the idea here is that I'd come up for my birthday and celebrate with y'all and tell a little bit of story. Because people do say, well, you're going to be nominated for this storytelling thing. Now, I'd like to pause for a second. These nominations mean a whole lot to guys like me. These nominations mean a bit because for guys like me who come up here to tell you a story and kind of spill our guts out, there are times that, no one even notices. So it's really cool that we're being nominated and put in a class with some people that are stellar. So needless to say, this should be interesting. Back to our production. You need to understand that this Squirrely Bill fella, he had a different way of thinking. He was more like the rob from Peter, give to Paul, but make sure that Mary ain't got shit, because then you're going to turn around and give it right back to Mary and Paul, because then Paul's going to get his 7 wives to come after you, and she's going to get pissed off because she's an angry Mormon woman. Sorry about that. I digress. The whole idea is that as we pontificate upon stories and the realism of what goes on, I started to think about this here fella. He was quite the man. He could tell a great story. He actually had a good sense of humor. So, in his defense, his sense of humor made up for any of the other ill wills or lackings that he then therefore carried with him. I mean, unless it's there a wallet full of gold, because at that point we can be the bestest of friends. I'm sure you can put that at the bank as well. Then backed up for a moment, as we had about 9 or 10 of them there rasparilla shots. That's actually a bit of sarsaparilla mixed with a little bit of raspberry catamount. That's a French drink added. And then you add a little bit of Jack Daniels or a little bit of decal on top of it, and then suddenly with a splash of lime, and suddenly you are now doing the cowboy strut. I mean, they used to call that the morphine waffle, or I don't know, or the lobla. It don't really matter what they called it, because what we call it now is a little different. Sorry, back to my story at hand. It was at that point that we both looked at our clock, and he said to me, "What time do you have on your timepiece?" And I said to him, 4:20 as always, because my watch is broken and it always reads 4:20. He said, "No shit, let me see." I did done show him, and he's like, "Man, you ain't done there shitting about that one, because you done scatty-walking all the way around there." And I told him, "No, I ain't scatty-walking, because no one ever lets me know that the shit's got to keep happening. And then sometimes you need to let them know that the floral dance needs to be walked upon twice or three times. But that don't matter, because sometimes when you're digesting the ruminations of things, you need to be clear in your actions," I tell him. He says, "Well, what about the 11:45 train?" I said, "What 11:45 train do you speak of?" He says to me, "The 11:45 train through Colfax." I said, "Wait, there's a train that runs there through Colfax?" He says, "There is, the 11:45 ALC3 train, straight from Sacramento." I thought, Sacramento? Wait, Sacramento means a few things to a man like me. I'm getting it out to show you. Sacramento means endeavors of the heart and the mind. Sacramento means a few things, like a safe, a lockbox that generally getting your gold out of it, getting it out of there isn't as easy as you think. I mean, it tends to be a bit much. So fellers like me decided that the smart and only step is dynamite. You can buy dynamite over the counter in the year 1865, because you can use it for mining, you can use it for love lesson, you can loosen it for open up those gaps that you just can't quite slip into, unless you lose a little bit of hot spit and lube and make sure dynamite. I digress from my story. So at that point, we decided that the 11:45 train LC3 from Sacramento was going to be our next mark. Well, here's the idea when you're robbing a train. A train is a little more difficult than maybe a stagecoach, or possibly a donkey or mule, or a little old lady and a kid with some candy. First and foremost, you have to understand that a train is a moving object. It's moving to 60 or 55 miles an hour. Now, if you're going to try to jump on, you'll rip your arms clearly out of your sockets. Now, I'm not looking to do that, because I ain't like a wrench that I can just pop them back on, because a surgeon in my town will just say, "Well, bleed him for a little bit, give him some bourbon, and make sure he don't get the sweats." I shit you not. All right, back to what I was digressing upon. One more of those ill-reputing times. I digress. We decided that the only way to take on this 11:45 LC325 train from Sacramento would be we'd climb up old there, Mount Durango. Climb up the backside of Mount Durango. Now, that was quite the hike. I mean, especially when you got people carrying all your gear and carrying you, because, well, I don't really hike much, because my boots aren't made for hiking. They're made more for like shit kicking and gunfighting. Sorry about that. I digress again. Then they did tell me that there was a house of ill repute with some very beautiful ladies at the top, and suddenly I pepped my step up. And it's amazing what will happen when you pep your step up, because you're pepping your step up suddenly. Once again, we got to the top of their El Dorado mountain. Durango, forgive me, digress there. Three of the men that worked for us, they were those Mexican type fellas. They were getting hot under the collar because, well, I didn't speak their language. They didn't speak my language. And all I kept saying was, "Rapido, gentlemen, rapido." Now, Once we got there, they turned and walked away, saying that the land was cursed. Well, we laughed for a little while. That's when me and Squirrely Bill, we climbed up atop of Mount Durango. We climbed up there in the most precarious spot that you could possibly call. And as we were up there, sitting in there waiting, I looked at him. I said, "Are you sure this train comes at this time, or are you losing your mind a little bit?" He looked at me and said, "Well, it has been a little while since I've, taken care of business, and my mind doesn't think clearly." I told him, "Well, shit." At that point, we can hear it coming over the mountain top. Whoa, whoa. And we were waiting for it as it went into the tunnel. It comes blaring out the other side. I look at him and I'm like, "Well, dickhead, what are you going to do?" We both jump at that point. Now, with the landing, I have to say to you, it was not as quite familiar as maybe the takeoff was, because the takeoff was done with such a power and ferocity that any young man would have felt like he was diving into the pools of hell. It wasn't quite that way, but we were jumping on a moving train. This train was going to get us rich. We knew it was going to get us rich. The only problem is that this train smelled like sheep. Once we got on board, climbing into the baffle holes, down through the ladder, down through the rock cap, breaking down the rock cap, climbing down in through, breaking loose, down through the ladders there, that's when we done decided that we might have made a small error in our actions. The 11:45 train from Sacramento, well, it was running late. And this was there, the 11:37 train from, D-Wall. Now, this train here was full of a whole bunch of cattle, whole bunch of sheep, whole bunch of ranch hands, and a whole bunch of day laborers. Needless to say, we left with 17 hat boxes, $25, and a whole bunch of horseshoes.
What we have here, the GSX 7775. It reaches speeds beyond all magnificent speeds. It will get you to Night City in no time at all. That's right, if you order now. But just wait, there's a whole lot more.
Oh, well, there is a whole lot more when you're traveling. I mean, first and foremost, the rental cars these days are quite expensive, like a carriage of the old days. So, a carriage of the old days was $25. I'm sorry, I digressed again. Getting off the train wasn't as fun, but we did make it. All 17 hat boxes, $25, and, well, all the others that came along. First, we need to take a break. Hopefully, you are inhaling and intoxifying your mind and having a lifted, beautiful day. And I hope this day of days makes it great for you because, well, for some people, they don't get the light at the end of the tunnel. They see an oncoming train. For me, I kind of see delightfulness in its grandeur. Did you know that Ed Shefflin, right there, is buried standing up facing the mountains over here? They buried him standing up. His brother did that for him. That's a lot of rocks. That is a cool monument to put yourself into, history. That there man found Tombstone. He was the man, he was a prospector, a rock hound, and land developer. And he done found Tombstone and made his dream my dream and your dream. That's hence why we're now sitting here in Tombstone, Arizona. Once again, I digress. Back to Sacramento. Back to Sacramento. Well, after we picking up off the floor, cleaning the dirt off our boots, and realizing that, well, what are in these there hat boxes? Because there possibly could be gold in them. We both realized that this was not the way to do things. We then grabbed our mules and we went back to the homestead, so to speak. While we were there at the homestead, so to speak, that's when we decided to go through the motions. The motions were knowing that the marshal knew exactly what we were doing. And the Pinkertons, well, by the way, they had something to do with this too. The federal government was wondering why all these lock boxes were being taken. Who was stealing these lock boxes? Especially because when you're using dynamite, you need to understand that it makes quite a mess. And this means sometimes people may get hurt. In the making of this video, the making of these stories, no one was absolutely hurt. Okay, but back to what I was saying. I'd like to see the marshal come out here and bust me now. It'd probably be ICE, but that's irrelevant. We are going to take a moment to have a puff to carry on with our story, so I hope y'all getting with me. Happy birthday to you too. Happy birthday to me, he said. Oh, shit, happy birthday, she says. Well, thank you very much. We're getting back to y'all. Oh, look at that. Hey. Hello there, David. How are you doing? Oh, my God. Thank you all for coming in and happy birthday to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Once again, if you think about how wild life can be, could you imagine being buried up, standing up like that, facing the mountains and a whole bunch of rocks? Man, that is some dying destitute from your brothers and your sisters, making sure that you are always making the right exact advance. Well, friends, we made it back. And what are you doing out there in the land of the internet today? Giving yourself a little bit of respect. You know what I'm doing. So, hey.
Your podcast till the break of dawn in Tombstone. The past reborn. Wayniac, lefty blazing free. Hey. Lefty rode through dust and sun. Cowboy life, but ain't done. Came from Cali to Tombstone land. Podcast mic in his hand. Tales of guns and smoky trails. Cactus shadows, dusty veils. Lights the pipe green and wild. Wayniac's words fierce as a child.
Hopefully you had a good mental break, or how would I say, a smoke break, or even a medicine break. I did, and it does help me elevate my mind, especially when I'm telling the stories like this. Now I know at this moment you're thinking, one, where's he going with all this? Two, where'd you get the dynamite? Three, were any Mexicans hurt in the making of this? No, there was no one hurt. It's my dynamite. And you guys all understand that there's actually no one hurt in the making of this video or this story. All right, back to what we were saying there. We decided there to make our way back, and things would be different because now the marshal had his eyes on us. Marshal Bucky, let me tell you. Now, Marshal Bucky, boy, when he puts his nose down to, no, he ain't no Batman. No, he ain't no Wyatt Earp. No, he ain't no Virgil Earp. He might be a Warren Earp, maybe. Well, it doesn't matter. But this there marshal, every time, or sheriff, every time he sees me, he always asks me if the handcuffs fit. I'm not entirely sure what he's getting at, because I think that might be some kind of euphemism or a metaphor for some kind of his deviant there thinking. And I got to remember is that that's not really an action that a man of my age and my declaration will take. In the 1800s, these here streets weren't as nice and as fancy as you see them now. In the 1800s, there were disputes in the street by young men, outlaws and cowboys or ranch hands. Sometimes you'd have aristocrats throwing their best bet at that, but not as much as you think. The main streets of Tombstone, Mr. Shefflin had no clue what was going to happen back then. He figured they'd make it rich. He figured that Tombstone would probably be a drop in the hat and it'd be gone. Tombstone was bustling in the 1950s. It's bustling all the way up to the 2020s. So, back to my story at hand. Get your coffee and make yourself comfortable. Yeah, right there. That's right there. That's a good seat. That's a good one. So we decided that the marshal, knowing what we were doing, Mr. Bucky, knowing that we were on the prowl, we had to lay low on our actions. There was no more hitting trains, no more hitting any of these things. So, he and I both decided that we were going to go incognita, or maybe as they say in Mexico, hiding out. We decided that we would join up with the can-can from our dudes. There's a how do you say, a French dancing ladies, and man, they are so skilled. Their skills are quite, I can't understand a thing they say, but they're skilled. They got some, they can dance. The idea there is that they got long legs, short skirts, and they got huge tracts of land that I digress. Sorry. It was them at the Can du Fromage that, well, how do I say? The Pinkertons decided that we were deep bad fellers, and they weren't going to go that deep undercover. So they then sent in a different marshal, a federal agent, undercover agent. He came in dressed in his tutu tatas and his alla walla wallas, This is a gentleman who knew how to swing it and all that. He could have got indecent exposure for swinging that thing. Some of the ladies used to tell me that he was part horse. I don't quite get what that whole reference is for. But then again, everybody's okay to their own. So the bank, would it work?
No, Stagecoach is where it's at.
But they're moving, and you got to catch up with them.
No, it's the Stagecoach, trust me.
But you can get the lock boxes in the bank.
No, haven't you seen, that movie, Stagecoach and the Furious?
There are times that as a gentleman, you need to kind of like find your center. I know, robbing banks ain't finding your center. That is definitely not for a way or a gentlemanly way for a man to find himself or his center to be declarated. I decided that at this point, I'd be a land developer. I mean, clocking people over the head with a sack full of change and taking their deeds and signing my name on it sounded easier than getting a J-O-B. I mean, that's a terrible thing. Now, with this being said, we heard of a ranch hand named El Racciato across the way. And we decided that El Racciato had something we wanted to find out. He had this barn that always smelled. And let me tell you, this barn smelled like Mother Nature meets cat piss meets Sunday morning. At the same time, Mr. Racciato also hung out with some hombres that were not quite as, nice and honorable as he. So therefore, going over to that there ranch, the Auto Ranch, that was kind of a step in the direction of insanity upon our behalf. I mean, well, that's when we decided to go talk to him. The whole idea there was that we could kind of make a deal, talk the deal, and then kind of move things around. After they're moved around, we could slide in to become, security force. Birdcage Theater. That's right, the Birdcage Theater, Tombstone, Arizona. This little building showed up in 1881, and they showed the acts of all the troubadours from across the United States. All the way from Shakespeare, all the way to the dancing girls. There's a reason they call it the Birdcage, after all. Some of the finest deals were made here in this here building. Some while playing poker, others while watching the ladies of the night. Birdcage Theater, Tombstone, Arizona. I bet you're wondering, how does a gentleman of these times make himself clear? Gold. Gold. That's the only way for a gentleman to make himself clear. Sometimes you have to suffer the delights of man. Gold. It's the only way. Back to my story. It wasn't then until we realized that Mr. Acciato and his ranch there had exactly what we wanted. About 9 pounds of some of this there finest, stinkiest Mexican green you have ever seen. Born here and grown here on the southwest of, America. This was also during a time when that was a whole lot. We didn't put it in shrink lock bags. We didn't roll it in airtight bags. You're lucky if you got it in newspaper rolled in a bunch of rubber bands, and then you met someone at the airport, and then maybe they knew someone that was going to. I digress. The idea is that Mr. Acciato did not take kindly to us taking all that there cabbage from him. By the way, it was not cabbage, but you know what I mean.
Well, finally made it out here. Problem is, the heat is absolutely terrible. And then I ran into these gents. Oh, they take all the fun out of the game. Well, come out to Tombstone. Check this place out. It's actually pretty wild. They say it's where history actually happened. Personally, I haven't seen no history yet, but I'm ready to make some. Get out of here!
Well, you all made it back. I was under the impression that maybe my long-winded tale was becoming to be a bit much. We are back because Mr. Acciato was waiting. He was waiting at the courthouse for me when I went there to set up for things. That was when we met the Doc Holliday, who gave us a little of the head up, saying that there was an angry Mexican fellow out in the front in the stagecoach that was very angry at some Caucasian fella who fit the description of, well, me. The thing is, there in this there description, I told him, no, Mr. Acciato, you got him wrong. I wear a different hat than him. At that point, Mr. Acciato decided that it was not going to be prudent there to chase us or vindicate us. He then drew a pistol on us, and that's when it began. Pow, pow, pow. We started shooting and jumping. We were trying to take cover, making sure, pow, pow, pow. We moved over, taking more cover. Pow. I saw a town feller get hit, and I was like, no. I jumped over to make sure that he was good. Not that town feller, because he's the one who has the good rolling papers. Oh, sorry. Well, then we started moving around. We started to do as they do a military that I learned there from Mr. Custer. It's called a Pinson Pierce. You go up around the side, one up the center. Well, the one up the center's got the long rifle, shooting, while the other fellers are moving up the bushes quick, very smooth, making sure they don't make a whole lot of noise getting close with the single action pistols. When they move up there, not me, of course, because I thought that was a crock of bullshit. Mr. Acciato wanted to fight fire with gasoline. I decided that, boom, dynamite would be the only way to disagree with him. Well, his feller didn't quite like the dynamite because, well, that blew the shit out of two of his carriages. Those Mexican fellows were very unhappy with me. At that point, I realized, boy, I might have done their fucked up. But no, I did not. That's when I made the move. I know you're saying to me, you made a lot of moves here. You said a lot. But what part of it is going to make sense to us there, Mr. Lefty? And yes, as an equalizer, dynamite could be one of those spectacle sports. Mr. Acciato never bothered me again for some reason. Now, his cabbage, on the other hand, did smell like cat piss, and it did get me fragrantly, obliterated for a little while. That's when I also realized that I needed to get me some their food, maybe pizza, maybe even the thought behind that was going to be more than I could bear. But no, I couldn't, because most of the fellers weren't even understanding of what I was doing.
Your drink.
It was only after that we slid away through the darkness, cloaked in the night of fire and smoke, never to be bothered again. We decided to go back and clear up the game and drop the box. I won, by the way. All of this here tale is one that I can tell over and over and over because it did really happen, but in a different way each and every time. And I would definitely like to clarify that there was no one hurt ever in any of these actions. I'd also like to say that thank you on behalf of the Knock Network for giving me a place to speak up and use my voice. Thank you all for coming and watching me because as my birthday clicked around, I started feeling like an old fool. Then I realized that no, I ain't an old fool. I'm just an old fool. But I realize that I love the fact that I'm up here speaking to y'all because on a good God given day, grace of glory that has been given to us all, I'm still walking on my 2 feet. Not only on my 2 feet, but Mr. Acciato is not dealing with me ever again. These tales come far and in between because telling the tales of the family of the Black Flag Gang is always a very treacherous story because, well, some of us are wanted after all, and some of us are still on the mend. You need to understand that we, as you, love life and carry through with each and every action. Could be like Mr. Shefflin up there, standing up tall, facing the direction that you want to be in. I think that's the moral of life, guys. The moral of life is doing what you want, standing the moral ground that you have. Mr. Shefflin was buried standing up, facing the mountains, something that he wanted. He found Tombstone, and his dream was clarified by the fact that there are people that are living there to this day, 100 years later, 140 years today, and still living here and prospering and doing business, carrying on. Cannabis, something that they never thought that would be coming through Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, California, but it swept through here to the Southwest like mad, bringing people a happiness and a notion knowing that we can have our medicine again, that no more backyard drug deals were being done, no more meeting people at strange places, not even knowing what you're getting. Things have changed, and we are now in a time that change is going to be ever more apparent. And it's going to be your job and my job to carry on and let people know that the moral fiber starts and ends right here. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today on my birthday. Makes me feel pretty good telling you the story of my good friend Squirrely Bill. Maybe another day I'll tell you another story. But until then, I think that we should all just realize that, man, life is good and you're so beautiful and you are needed. And each and every one of you have a great story to tell. Whether you take the reality of a story and you just change some people and some places, and you make it glorious, or maybe you're sitting by the campfire telling stories, flinging guns, having fun. Or maybe you're in the office building waiting for lunch to get there and you're bored out of your mind, but you're still telling tales. This has been an orating thing that has been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years, from the campfire back at the medieval time all the way up through now, whether it's the 1880s now or the 1980s now or the 28 80s, they're going to still be telling stories. A lot of us have these stories that we want to tell. Sometimes we are scared. Sometimes we are afraid. Sometimes we think that people might not understand. I'm a grown man, dressed in period correct 1880s clothes, standing outside talking to a camera on, well, what would be a glorious Tuesday. To most people, this would be a strange thing, and this would be something that, what the fuck is this guy doing? But the thing is, I give it the honor and the glory to my founding fathers, like the men like behind me, Mr. Ed Shefflin, who's buried in those mountains right there. He gave his life and he gave his glory to this beautiful town and he gave his dream so people like me could move here and have it. I see nothing wrong with that. And I think that's the dream that keeps you and me alive. I hope this broadcast has worked. I hope my audio has been okay. I have been out in the middle of nowhere. And before I leave you guys with this, I would like to show you where we've been broadcasting from. Because you guys have seen you've seen Mr. Shefflin's behind me. We are quite literally we are out in the middle of nowhere, guys, for real. And the idea that this middle of nowhere has became somewhere. Thank you, Mr. Shefflin. Thank you, Tombstone. And thank you, all my friends, my family, all my cohorts. And now we're going to get to a little bit of business before I leave you guys out of the day here. There's going to be coming this thing that I'm going to be asking of you guys' support and your help. Seems I've been nominated. And I know, hard to believe, right? Nominated for Cannabis Best Storyteller. Hey, if you guys like this content, you want to see more of this content, this is why you want to vote for me. Yeah. No, there's no gun to your head. You're not going to solve world hunger by voting for me. But what you might just do by voting for me is you might give me a chance to get more content out there to my friends, and family, if I had any, and more people that want to see it, counting my friends. Well, there went my Uber. My friends, thank you so very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed just a little bit of the story. Or maybe you enjoyed seeing Edward Lawrence Shefflin, the memorial. Whatever it is, I hope that you're getting out and having a good day. You know, we got 5 minutes to waste. How do you want to do it? Smoke a little bit? Yeah, I think we do. Let's go back and have a smoke. You know, I did this little thing that I wanted to demonstrate to you guys because a lot of people think that what I do is this weird storytelling sideshow thing, which it is. But a lot of time, what happens is people don't know what goes into it. What goes into it is a lot of filmmaking, and I have to deal with a lot of outside sources, a lot of editing, people wanting to know if they were caught on video because they didn't want to be on video and whatever. So, guys, promise I'll be kind of quiet. Oh, just let me do the talking. Oh, let him do the talking. Oh, shit, Wednesday. Pardon me? No, I didn't point at you. I don't shoot my camera at my friends. Only the people that are in front of it that are meant to be in front of it, not strangers. Unless you want to sign a waiver, I can have you sign a waiver and you can pay me $700 to put you in my video if you like.
Oh, you're making the video?
But $700 to get the video done.
How about if I can just watch you?
For $500, you can watch me. $700, you can be in it. You can even be a part of it. $500, you can watch. $350, you can. You have a nice day now. No, I didn't shoot him. Come on. That's why I get paid nothing. Well, looky here, y'all. Old Tombstone. Woo, boy. It is beautiful out here. 77 degrees. It's starting to really feel like Tombstone, Arizona right now. And I'm enjoying it. I'm done with the coffee. But I'm back. Guys, we got a few more minutes to kill with you. And I decided that I would have a little dog walker with you guys while I set up a few things. I am in the middle of cleaning up my mess while I was out here. You know, I went to a place yesterday called Story in Bisbee, Arizona, and it's very close to the border of Mexico, Nogales, Mexico, or Norco, Mexico. And I went to a shop and I had glorious thing happen. You know, for your birthday, they give you free weed. And I ended up getting free little dog walkers for my birthday. And I thought, what a glorious way to celebrate with you guys. You know, so I thought, let's do it. Granddaddy Lavender. Ooh, wow. Maybe. Wowzer. That is a lot of flavor. That's terpene rich. I see a car busting down the road down there, and it's crazy because that road is fucking rough, man. Guys, I love you so much. I hope your day is good. Treat your friends with love and respect. I hope to see you guys around. See ya!